In the text of Sun Tzu, Giles guides us down and through the history of all of the commentators of significance, both native to China and otherwise, who have tried to assemble the authenticity, historicity, and otherwise contemporary merits and biographic reality, as opposed to pastiche, of Sun Tzu himself, and tracing back through commenters far and near. He generally discounts accounts such as the Shi Chi in favor of his own synthetic timeline, wherein, at the very end, the ironic placement of Sun Tzu as contemporary is concluded as most likely, as being but a seasoned soldier of the state of Wu, and moreover, an alien resident, who did not receive any of the credit that great commentaries and histories of the period who mentioned what we might today call side characters of the War and Peace of the era would seem to discount his existence. Stones sleep, stones rest this day. If that ain't the most I am Groot thing I've ever heard out of anything Bethesda, I don't know what is. And under such state of affairs, Giles supposes that Sun Tzu was in fact a simple passer-through of the historic period insofar as official records attest, and that if he did exist, the work of the Art of War was almost certainly published near the end of Wu's existence for the king of the time, Po Lu, and that the Art of War, with at least its 13 chapters, is a bona fide piece of contemporary history in the 400s BC. I'm assailed again? Oh. Huh. Away with ye. Wolves, wolves, and more wolves. If I were to rub a magic ball, that would be my future as it shows. In the text of Sun Tzu, Giles continues expounding how we have come to the most contemporary version of the Art of War. Here, as sparse works of the earlier past came to the surface from a few temples and other miscellaneous sources, under the direction of the 1800s Chinese government. A work was abstracted, pieced together, and otherwise inferred from these referenced documents, and assembled into what we now speak of in, as Giles calls it, the standard text. While perhaps dubious, considerable for the amount of inference necessary, and the diffuse nature of the material itself, Giles accepts it as it is, for exactly what it is, without embellishment or lionization thereof. And with that, he pivots into the commentators. I'll say one thing that Well, that's definitely an enemy. Yep. Necromancers. I'll avoid that for the moment. Go away! Get the fuck out of here! You're committed, aren't you? Alright, fine. Fine. You know, I didn't take vows against necromancers. I'll whoop you, boy. Not like that, though. Oh my lord! No. Ha! Friendly fire, you shitty. How about some of these, eh? Eh? If I calm you, can I still punch the daylights out of you? Nope. No ghost touch! These guys must be on all kinds of skooma. No! I'll punch your daylights out. There you go. I did it. Just like I said I would. Looking on it today, with all of the media that's come out, movies, films, even static pieces like drawings, the visual fidelity and sheer crunch of the visuals has really put into perspective both how impressive this game was for its time, and also how rather poorly it has aged. I think it's because of the setting more than anything, where if I look back on Fallout New Vegas, for instance, and to a certain extent even Fallout 3, as wastelands, they have that kind of desolation about them that is justified given how they are provided for. And I think to a certain extent even Skyrim suffers from that, although because it is more of an alpine, maybe taiga, and definitely in certain parts, just straight ice sheet. It doesn't quite suffer from the lack of foliage, wildness, and overflowing that I think is really lacking in Oblivion. Nowhere. Eating lasagna. Come here, you. Blasted by your own summon. Well done, fool. And with like 1 HP left to my name, no less. He could have done me in if he tried. That is to say, pretty much all of this, whether we're up here in the mountain or down in the valleys, feels kind of like a managed forest, which if you even look over to something more recent but not completely fresh, like Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, in many a section they definitely nailed that wild, unmanaged, open forested area. And especially given the fact that Cyrodiil was supposed to be endless and wretchedly dense jungle, while I do understand that that is not inevitably what they went with, I would imagine that the hardware limitations were the great decider in the matter.
Wherever it was, it's gone now.
Famous last words. Fort Ontis is quite an interestingly named piece of terrain. It's very close to the Greek ontos, being. And in fact, given how much they crossed over and borrowed from one another like English does French, and if you know anything about language, most of French is just Latin, but with a lot more vowels added in everywhere, and diacritics too. That could just be a direct borrowing. For those who haven't picked up on it as well, the Empire borrows heavily from the aesthetic as well as apparent linguistics of, I would imagine, though this isn't my field of expertise, some of the Middle and later Roman Empire. When I do inevitably go back up there, I think that will certainly be a place that has some interesting lore to it. Ah, there you are. What I'm up, see? Except not until I get close to you, see? Because I'm gonna put one right in your eyes, see? Huh! Ah ha ha! Clogs. You know. You know. We have to live out. Cannot go about with our dogs out being Catman. And we must live out our jazz punk truths. That way, whenever I inevitably walk my way into a restaurant and they ask me to take them off, I can go, "Pew!" That is one thing I do love about being out here. At this level, and something I'll never be able to get over with, is those early levels, even in TTRPGs and especially there, the sheer vulnerability that you have, as put on close display. You're able to just get whacked moment to moment. You really have to cheese it or know what you're doing in order to get by, and that's where the fun is to be had. In fact, that's a massive influence, this mindset, on the TTRPG that I'm working on, and I am hesitantly dubbing the all-sighting. I think that there is a stark line to be drawn between games like D&D and the like, where you can really tank some things, and if you know what you're doing, make good with very little, especially the right combination of busted magic items, and consumables for that matter. But I have thankfully found a place to— oh, what the hell? Whew. That genuinely spooked me. Shit. Forgot there were actual traps in Oblivion. But no tripwire? Okay. Yeah, it's just motion activated. Yeah. Oops. I shouldn't have stepped through the Spy Kids infrared beams. I should have had my aerosol ready. But those like Call of Cthulhu and the more tactic kinds of slow and deliberate shooters, where you can just get wiped if you're not careful and paying any mind, is something I much favor over being a damage sponge. And for myriad reasons too. Of course, feeling like the almighty hero is a valid and valuable thing to want. Yet, at once, it does rather necessarily detract from making your decisions feel like they matter, and not just decisions in the grand scheme of things, but particularly in the moment. And likewise, having easy and immediate access to modes of recovery can do very much the same thing. It makes things like material combat much easier to justify and otherwise endure. Nah, buddy. In fact, there you go. Close! Jeez.
This ends here.
Prove it. Is he just standing there screaming at the door?
You'll never take me down.
He's trying to intimidate me, and he's rolling ones every time.
To death.
What are you doing? Yeah, he is just standing there. I was commenting on it earlier, now that we are of course indoors, and not in some stinking cave hole. I admit, there's a lot more to be said for the interior design than the exterior. Yes, while the caves of the Fingerbowl Cave were serviceable, and in fact did have some atmosphere to them, there is a great deal more even just here. Between the traps and trappings of the cut stone blocks, assembled in a way that is admittedly superior than some sections that we critiqued in Amnesia, which is surprising considering Amnesia's whole thing is expressly interior designs. Even with repeated motifs and assets, they accomplish a lot with a little, and while I know for a fact there are quite a few things which could have been ironed out, and some fantasy tropisms like the hanging braziers, there is yet something to be said, and certainly in the positive direction. Don't say that to me. That's very offensive to my species. So I've discovered the wonderful wild world of VST plugins, since I was getting very tired of the compression artifacts from the OBS limiter, which is what I believe that I narrowed it down to as the likely culprit for the little, like, that happens sometimes, and as I go through and edit and review because of something called CFX limiter. I had played with it in Vegas Pro 21, which is the program that I use for editing everything together, alongside Audacity for some of its noise suppression plugins, which are just phenomenal. I know it's made a world of difference, as my previous tactic to try and get around that clipping was just lowering the input volume, and that was requiring me to normalize it in a very particular way, so as to keep some of those dynamic highs and lows, but to get them closer to like -3 decibels. Basically, it's good, and I'm hoping that it works well here. Got it.
Who's there? Hello? Who's there?
No one. Certainly not a familial house cat come to claw you up! Ah, wow. Did I? Oh, no. I was absolutely walking around on 1 HP, bloodied, battered, and about to fall over. And I went, yeah, now, now's the time to live or die. They really didn't put terribly much effort. They paved the spaces between buildings. I guess you could, but they really didn't put terribly much effort into the look of this whole thing. I understand that you have to scale things down in order to get world environments to really be usable, but scaling it down this much and then not making up for it with any kind of decor density, you're gonna end up, as this has so far, feeling very primitive, rather empty, and overall not a place you want to be at unless you're there for a distinct reason. Says you. I haven't had mange for years. Try me, fool. Gotcha. I only lost both my arms and legs in the meantime. And watch me, I'll fling my hand up and suddenly regrow them. Alright, off to Sandstone Cavern, the Cavern of Wonderful Sand. Oh shit. What is that? Oh, it's a brigand. Are they low enough level that I can soothing touch them? So I can. Go ahead, buddy. I got your target right here. Yeah, have at. Go ahead. They absolutely whiff it with bears. I'm sure you'll be able to take them down. Never mind. Never put your faith in the goblins. At least not these kinds. I do find it funny that a way shrine of Talos is placed right next to a Daedric shrine. Hello, fellas. How do we...
you have with Meridia, Lady of Infinite Energies?
Oh, just energying infinitely. You know how it goes. Someone needs to be soothed. Just asking for it. I'll hand you a giant cup of chamomile tea and tell you to sit down. Beware! Ah ha ha! Huh. There you go. You've been mild. Forgot how big Skingrad is. You fought mud? That's wild. Oh, why me? I just walked up. Bruh.
Can you get sheep's cheese but in Skingrad? And why? Because only in Skingrad is your ass, master of sheep's
Your
cheese.
ass.
I can also teach a bit of athletics. Why, you ask? Because I am the mountain sheep's brother, and I must dash with him from crag to crag.
What else, dude?
What is it?
Rude ass.
Yes.
No, that's more like it. I thank you all for joining us today. If you enjoyed, I hope that you find it worthwhile to give a little bit of feedback, a little bit of support in the form of sharing it to people who you think would also enjoy it, maybe subscribing if you would like to see more, and giving it a like or dislike depending on what you actually feel about it. If you want to get a steady feed of such content from the Threefold Manifold, you can find us at X, Twitter, Spotify, Instagram, BitChute, and the Threefold Edifactory on Discord, all linked in the description. Alongside, if you think it might be monetarily worthwhile to support, helping us improve, get better, and maybe even make this something a lot more frequent and higher quality, then there is a one-time donation link that you can find through Stream Elements, also in the description. Or if you want something a little bit more recurring, starting at $5, you can find us over at Patreon, also linked, and you can get some delightful features like participating in polls to help inform the direction and disposition of the channel, get your name listed at the start or end, depending on what you prefer, of every long-form piece of content like these streams, a few additional level-dependent only access to rooms and voice channels in our Discord, and otherwise my most permanent appreciation. But without further ado, I hope that you all never miss your opportunities.